Video talks about inequalities that represent circles and circle inequalities. What's different is we have a less than or equal to sign. Let's see how the graph of this will look. We still can analyze our information for our circle because this formula is a standard form inequality. So its center of the circle would be at +4 and -3. The radius, now here's the thing. If this were an equal sign, we would say that the radius equals 3, and it does. But because it says less than or equal to, then we want to find points, x and y ordered pairs, that make this statement true. In order for this statement to be true, the points are going to have to be less than or equal to a radius of 3 away. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to graph a circle and then need to shade something that represents a less than or equal to inequality. First, let's begin by plotting the center of our circle, which actually is not a point on our circle. It's the point in the middle. So +4, -3. Unfortunately, I plotted it in the wrong direction. +4, -3 is down here. Next, if it has a radius equal to 3, I will go 3 up, 3 down, 3 left, 3 right. This makes somewhat of a circle. I would like to find any other point and then find some proximity or relative points around the circle. I could pick an x-coordinate of 3, maybe, or maybe even 2. 2 would be somewhere in here, but I don't think it's exactly at this point. Why don't I use a point of 2 and see what happens? Let's plug in 2, so x equals 2. Then 2 take away 4 would be -2, and -2 squared would be 4. Then y plus 3 inside parentheses squared. And because I want to find a point on the boundary of the circle, I'm going to say equals 9. Let's solve this. The quantity y plus 3 squared equals 5. Y plus 3 equals plus or minus square root of 5. So y would equal -3 plus or minus square root of 5. Let's approximate this. So I'll use my calculator. What is the value of -3 plus the square root of 5? One last time, -3 plus the square root of 5. That's approximately -0.76. So if I go 2 to the right, -0.76 is around here. So let's figure out what has just happened. If I went 2 boxes left, I would go down a little bit past 3/4. So if I go 2 boxes right, I could go down approximately -3/4. If I go 2 boxes left of this bottommost point, I could go up about 3/4, a little bit beyond it, and I get these 4 points. Certainly, if I go down 3/4, I can go 2 boxes up. If I go left 3/4, I can go 2 boxes up, and you'll see that we can create a couple of these extra points to form our circle's boundary. First thing I need to notice before I happily connect these is I want to determine whether I should use an open line or a closed line. We don't really have open lines, but we want to say a dashed line or a solid line. The line that represents the boundary of the circle will be a solid boundary line because it says we want to include the points that are equal to the circle, that are exactly 3 units away from the circle. These are all of the points that are exactly 3 units away from the circle. They form what we call the boundary or the border of the circle. Because this inequality sign says less than or equal to, I need to shade. The 2 options I have to shade are the interior of the circle or the exterior of the circle. If I'm unsure, what I can do is I can test a point and see if a statement is true. Why don't we test with our center of 4 and -3. Plug in 4, plug in -3, and I get a sum of 0. Is 0 less than or equal to 9? The answer is yes. So this inequality will be shaded on the interior of the circle. What could change if I switched this to greater than 9 instead of less than 9? A couple of things. If I switched this to greater than, then the boundary of the circle would have a dashed curve around the outside of that circle. If I said greater than, then this point would not satisfy that inequality, and we would have to shade the outside of the circle. So only the points on the exterior of the circle, and not the points including the boundary of the circle, will solve this inequality. That's it for this section. Let's move on. I'm going to do maybe one more video of some extra practice in case anybody's interested, but that's it. If you don't need any extra help, you may work on your assignment.